Hey everyone, it's Pastor Sarah and I'm here with my vlog, Faith at Home, Not Alone. And this month I wanted to talk about Lent and Easter. And really, how do bunnies and eggs make sense with the Christian story of Easter? So if you're not familiar with what Lent is, it's a term that we use for part of the church calendar or season in the church year. And the calendar starts with Advent, which is the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, when Jesus is born. And we kind of have a season of anticipating, celebrating the birth of Jesus. And then there's other dates after that are kind of part of the story in Jesus' life. And then we come to Lent, which is around 40 days before Easter. And it's another time of preparation. I don't know all the history, but I think some of it is around Jesus fasting for 40 days. 40 is a significant number, so that could have a part of it. And in some church traditions, people do fast during this time. They might fast from a food item or from social media or something like that, just as a way of taking time to focus more on God. Now, sometimes those things help us do that and sometimes they don't. I'm not part of a church tradition that participates in that strictly, but people may choose to do it or not. But what I do appreciate about the church calendar is it gives me some times to just pause and think, oh yeah, how do I want to reflect on the Passion of Jesus or the week before he died and all the different events that happened? How do I want to prepare myself so that I can really enter into celebrating Easter, that Jesus rose from the dead? So that's what I appreciate. That's what I appreciate about some of these things. And as a family, there's some different things that we can do. We can, there's different resources like Lent family calendars. There can be different activities. Actually, one that I've done with my children for many years. They're, I think, just about too old for it now, but these are actually my original resurrection eggs that I put together, the kit. There's 15 of them. Some of them have 12. They can be different sizes, but what I like about them is there's something that every day, or however you choose to do it, there's something to open. So you have a script with it. I think this is the robe or the cloth related to the story. Let's see, what's another one? This one's making noises. Oh, I had a little Playmobil chicken in this one. I think that's when the rooster crowed for Peter. So it's a great way because the kids can touch them, they can open them, you can read part of the story, and they're just a great and fun way to go through parts of the Easter story, of the Passion story leading up to Jesus' resurrection. There's other fun activities that you can do, like the resurrection egg cookies, where you go through the story and you kind of beat the nuts and you talk about how Jesus was hurt, how he was beaten. You mix egg whites and different things and you talk about the different ingredients. And then you put them in the oven at night and turn off the heat, and then you put some tape on it. So you talk to the kids about how the tomb was sealed, and you leave them in overnight, and then in the morning before they get up, you want to break the seal, and the cookies open up and they're hollow in the middle. So those are kind of some fun ways to go through the story of Easter with our children that involves them, that is tactile, that they can kind of touch things and be involved in it instead of just always being in a position of listening to a story, so they can participate in it. I do remember when the children were little and just kind of going through the questions to myself, asking, well, why do we have bunnies and eggs at Easter? Should I be giving my kids these kind of things at Easter time? I've got a fun little bunny that I made here with his carrot. But do bunnies and eggs have any meaning for us as Christians? Or are we compromising by having these secular symbols in our homes? And I thought it was really interesting because as I looked it up, I didn't do any major research, but there seems to be a fairly consistent story that in our church history, yes, bunnies and eggs and different things were symbols of fertility for worshiping other gods. But as different communities became Christian, the church actually said, well, instead of these things having the meaning for this religion, like symbolizing fertility, they can actually have a redeemed or a new meaning in Christ. They can mean new life. They can explain part of the Christian story. And so they took some of these things and they gave them that new meaning. And one of the things that we still do today is coloring eggs. So they would take eggs and they would color them with different colors to represent parts of the story of Christ's death. I think the earliest that I understand is red. They would color them red to symbolize Jesus's blood on the cross. So I think there's ways that we can use the symbols and the things that we see at Easter time, but we're still teaching our children the story of Jesus. We're still emphasizing that Easter for us as followers of Jesus is about celebrating that Jesus died and rose from the dead. And so maybe it's doing something creative like making your own resurrection egg kit. You can buy them as well. It could be maybe doing some egg decorating and drawing out on the eggs parts of the Easter story, or doing colors. You could pick different colors and say, well, what does this color tell us about the story of Jesus? And maybe we have the Easter Bunny, and the Easter Bunny is going to tell the story of Jesus. And just kind of as a creative way of saying that there doesn't have to be two separate stories. We can redeem these and have everything pointing to Jesus. Now, again, for you and your family, this may or may not work. You might struggle with that, and that's okay. I think one of the things, though, that we want to do as parents is think creatively, take into account our children's understanding. How do they understand the Bible? How do they understand some of the stories of the culture? Are they kind of going to equate the Easter Bunny as you know, a myth when they look back and look at Jesus as a myth? Or can we tell the story in a way that Jesus is real and there is history? There are proofs that we can see about Jesus's life, that he did live, that he did have disciples. There are a lot of things that we can point to as the truth and history of who Jesus was. And there's still a lot of room for faith as we trust that Jesus is who he said he is. But I think we can also be creative in how we use things, especially around Easter time. And especially as this is one of the highlights of the church calendar, the highlights of why we follow Jesus, why we celebrate, is because he died and rose again. So we want to make sure that story is of the greatest importance. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And if you have any other ideas of creative ways to celebrate Easter with our family and share the good news of Jesus with our children and even maybe their friends as well, I'd love to hear those. So my hope is that this is an encouragement to you, that this helps you in your journey as parents who are practicing faith at home. And just remember that we're doing faith at home, but we're not alone. We're in community together, and we're here to encourage each other. I hope you have a great week.